photography work before the music? Music first, and then music. Okay. Right on. And well, you know, this is a lot of artists are Renaissance artists, right? They're working in many ways. And that was a great example of someone who's an accomplished musician, emerging artist, a great author. So quickly, I'll tell you a little bit about his biography. Randall was born in Maryland and grew up in the coastal regions of Virginia and North Carolina. We want to send a lot of positive energy and safety for everybody that's going on during the natural disaster happening there. So please have your prayers and all the energy you can pick up to people there and everywhere, right? We also have some emergency loss that happen. So the show is really about all of these things, that reactions and consequences from what we do in the So Mr. Blythe accidentally became a photographer after starting producing video, right? Camera looking into video, and then quickly discovered Henry Baton, who is one of the iconic Leica users. That kind of led also like to explore like the camera, and then wanted to So all of the work that you're seeing was shot with various like cameras, the SL, Monaco, maybe the Q a little bit. The main shot you're seeing here is the one shot in Boston. That was the end. With the end. A mix of SL, Qs, and Monaco. So his first show was Show Me What You've Made Of in the Leica Gallery. The second one, this year, this spring, was at the Cayman Islands at the National Gallery there, and it was titled From Whence You Came. His work has been used in album covers, and has also been featured in publications, including Rolling Stone. He's also penned best-selling memoir Dark Days. So while he's not touring with his band, I'm glad he's surfing and he's safe in Richmond with his family. We're very excited to have this exhibition here. I want to talk a little bit too about the creative process. So when Brad and I started talking about the exhibition was maybe about a year ago, date, and then I got an immense amount of images, which was exciting as a curator, right? And at the same time, having an artist that's willing to work and be forgiving and like, okay, what themes are in the work? We identified those themes and then we narrowed it down. Thinking about his passion for the natural environment, everything was also creating awareness. We are going to present a slideshow that will give you a little bit of other themes that are not represented in this exhibition. For this exhibit, we focus on not only the natural beauty, but also the demise of these natural environments, and also the resistance. What are people doing when we bring awareness to this? I know something that Randy mentioned, how important it is photography as a tool to bring awareness. So doing the layout, you'll see this mini room is going to have that relationship of this natural environment, and then, you know, this amazing image in comparison to the postcard, which I hope you can all grab on and take one home. And that's really what we're going for this exhibition, this relationship, this little, back and forth of what are we doing and what do we want to preserve. And then in the hallway, we have a chance, that's a little bit of the resistance that's happening. I think from the large detectives, the young future generation that's trying to protect futures in California. So that's my launch pad, in terms of the exhibit. But the presentation is going to show you a little bit of the other themes that Randy's been exploring. We could have done a whole exhibit of just protests. And we could have done a whole exhibit of the music or other, family life or friends. But I'm hoping that you'll get a sense of that. And then also have questions. After the presentation, we're going to do a Q&A. Then we'll have a little bit of mingling. We'll try and clean up the chairs so we can have more space, have time to talk to me, and to George, and to Lisa, and to give. This will also be on Instagram. We're going to be doing a little bit of live clips. So you'll be able to kind of go back and listen to some of the topics. So without further ado, we'll start the presentation.
First of all, thank you for showing up. I'm always terrified nobody will show up for these sorts of things. I'm kind of used to people showing up for the band, but this is a different sort of experience. She mentioned I became a photographer by accident, and I think that story is kind of worth repeating and explaining how it sort of leads into why I shoot the things that I shoot. When I was a kid, I always wanted to, I wish I had some sort of magic camera in my head. When I see things, you're like, man, I wish there was some sort of device that I could use to capture the things that I see to show to other people. What if there was something like that? And I'm kind of slow because it took me years to realize, oh yeah, there's a camera. But even so, I came to photography entirely accidentally. I never intended to be. I know there's a lot of photographers here, and different people get into photography in different ways, and they're like, I'm really interested in this. I wasn't interested in photography at all. I became interested in photography because I was really sick of the internet and relying solely on the internet for everything. Some of you guys are a little bit younger and you may not remember a time before these things, the pocket Jesus, as I call it, that holds the answer to anything you ever want right now. It can tell you how to get wherever you want to go in the world right now by doing this. These things didn't used to exist. And I felt myself and everyone around me relying more and more and more on this technological tool and becoming, I feel, really kind of disengaged from real life, from what is happening right now in the physical now. So I decided I'm going to unplug completely from the internet for a year. I'm still going to use computers, like I'll use them to make music or whatever, but I'm just not going to use the internet, and I'm not going to use the cell phone. And this actually offended some people who I know, and they're like, you can't do that. And I'm like, yes, I can. We used to exist without these things, And the more people told me that was not really a viable option in the modern era, I was like, the more I want to do this. So I was sitting on an airplane above Australia, and I decided I was going to unplug from the internet for a year. I was going to write a book about it. And I was sitting on an airplane, flying above Australia, and I was sitting next to a friend of mine. His name is Jamie Justice. Some of you guys will know who he is. Some of you won't. He's a singer for a band named Hatebreed. And I'm explaining this whole thing. I'm like, I'm going to unplug from the internet. I'm going to write this book. And I explained the whole spiel, and I'm sitting there getting all upset about the internet or whatever. And he looks at me and he's like, okay, here's how we're going to do the movie. And he just completely throws the book out. And I'm like, but the book, he's like, people don't, you should do a documentary. I'm like, okay, cool. So I asked a documentarian friend of mine, who's actually working on a documentary about my band and our fans, which took a weird turn, called As the House Will Burn. I asked him, what's a decent sort of camera that's not going to break the bank that I can do some video interviews with? And he told me to get this Canon 60D prosumer model. And so I started interviewing a few people for this concept. I've interviewed a professor, I've interviewed a couple of skateboarders, different people I knew about how the internet had changed their career arc because they, worked before the internet. And I was just filming a lot of skateboarding, a lot of my friends skateboarding. And one day I was in my kitchen, and I was getting ready to go film my friends skateboarding, and I saw my coffee pot sitting on the stove, and I saw my reflection sitting in the domed lid of this French press, and I was like, that's really cool. Let me see if I can use this camera for what it's actually meant to be used for instead of just video. And I put it on automatic, dummy mode, as I like to call it, full automatic, and I pointed it at this coffee pot, and I went like this, click, and the picture popped up, and I was like, I'm a genius, you know? And it was just an average photo, obviously, but it sparked a bug in me, you know? And so it was entirely accidental that I became a photographer. And the documentary for Unplugging for a year kind of got put to the wayside because I had a little legal problems that I had to deal with some lawyers overseas with, so I kind of had to be on the internet. But I'm still going to do it one day. But the love of the camera still remained, and I started just shooting everything. And due to my job as a musician, I get to go to a whole lot of really cool places, you know? And I've never understood people who go on rock tour or whatever and just sit at their hotel or just sit at a venue, you know? I'm like, we're in Japan, man. You know, you gotta get out and see stuff. So I just shot. And at first, everything I was shooting was just my environment, you know? And then I started noticing that my eye was drawn to sort of uncomfortable things. See it like scenes of conflict or whatever. If you see two people arguing on the street, everyone's going to look, you know? Not everybody's going to take a picture, though. But you're capturing a very human moment. So that was like sort of one of the initial impetuses in me to start capturing things beyond just like sunsets and stuff. So I started researching photography, and as she said, got into Henri Cartier-Bresson and found out they used these cameras like a rangefinders, which are all manual, you know, and it really forces you to get close to things. There's no autofocus, there's no zoom, none of that. So that made me get closer to my subject matter. And for me, starting to shoot photos of all these things as I sort of gathered my aesthetic, my sort of style, getting closer to things made me want to get closer to things that I care about. And so there's a lot of different things that I care about, you know, and I can't shoot about everything, but I can focus on different things. So right now, as some of you may have noticed, we're in kind of a contentious time politically. There's not a lot of argument. I mean, there is a lot of argument. There's not a lot of middle ground, it seems like, and especially in our country. And that's leading to some rather interesting protests and so forth. So that automatically kind of attracted me. So I think right now, this show in particular, and this stuff that I'm going to show, this is what I'm interested in. This is important things, and these are the things I want to use my tools for. You know, we live in an important time. There's a lot of social change, and I think photography is a very valuable tool to show that change. Has anyone ever seen the picture from Vietnam of the monk sitting there burning? You know, that is an iconic photo. That changed the course of history in Southeast Asia, right there. One photo, you know. The monks were protesting their treatment by the government, and this monk sat there and caught himself on fire. There was someone there with a camera who took that. That's very uncomfortable to shoot a photo of someone burning alive. I don't know from personal experience, but I know it would kind of freak me out. But that photo changed everything. You know, our policy in Southeast Asia at that time, the way the world viewed what the government was doing over there, the whole concept of colonialism in Vietnam. It was all was, but you show a picture of a guy sitting there in the lotus position on fire, and people are like, what the fuck is that? They want to learn about it. That's power, you know? So those are the type of images, and we live in a very contentious time. Those are the type of images that I'm interested in capturing if I happen to come across them. And that's why, like, this first photo is from Richmond, Virginia. It was the Women's March that happened, I think it was last year, late last year or earlier this year. And the photo, for me, is not particularly about the Women's March in general. You know, even though you see the pink hats or whatever, it's saying, it's about capturing sort of the spirit of what is happening in general in this time right now. Because there's a lot of that happening around the country and around the world. And we have these wonderful tools, even in these, you know, the cell phone camera is amazing. We have these tools to capture something other than our lunch for Facebook. That's the kind of stuff I'm interested in. Am I making any sense at all to you guys? Cool. Tell me to shut up if I'm not. All right, so that's just sort of kind of sets off what I'm interested in. Another thing I'm interested in is, you can see there's a lot of water and stuff. I'm a coastal guy, you know. I'm a surfer. It's pretty an obsessive thing for me. I greatly enjoy it. This is in San Onofre, California. And being a surfer and being immersed in the natural environment, nothing against living in cities, because I live in a city too. Richmond, Virginia is a city. But I think being a surfer, being on the coast a lot, growing up there and being in the water, when something affects the environment, when there's garbage and plastic and so forth, people on the coast process it slightly differently than people in the city. Because if you're walking down the street right now and there's a plastic bottle sitting on the sidewalk, you're probably going to walk past it and not even notice it. You might say, oh, it's garbage, that sucks. Or maybe you'll pick it up and put it in the trash. But when you're sitting in the ocean and, you know, garbage and a baby diaper lands on you, it's a visceral thing. And it makes you very, very physically aware of what is happening to the environment around you because you're immersed in it. So I like shooting surfing a lot because it's kinetic and I enjoy doing it and it makes beautiful images. But it's made me very much more aware of the environment in general. And this is a photo from Oak Island, North Carolina. And that's a year and a half ago, I think, during hurricane season. No, a year ago during hurricane season. And that pier right now may no longer be there. I shot that from a pier.
And that is also in the show at the Park Plaza entrance.
Yeah.
So that's one of the 6 pieces that's in the
Right over there. One thing about shooting surfing for me is I surf, so it's always hard for me to decide whether I want to surf or shoot surf. It kind of sucks. So on this day, I had surfed for like 7 hours and I was totally wiped out. So I went and got up on this pier and shot this photo. And this is an example of it. Is anyone here familiar with the term the decisive moment? You know, it's where you're waiting for everything to line up and capture that magic moment. And if you're around the ocean a lot, not only does it make you care about your environment and pay attention to it, you also start to learn reading it, and that translates visually into my photography with the ocean. So this guy, I watched these 2 guys for like 30 minutes, you know, and they caught waves, but I had to wait until this wave rolled by perfectly, and he was on the backside of the wave, and then he was dropping in. And then half a second later, this photo would not have looked as cool, you know, because this is all crumbling, but at the time, it was the face of the wave. And surfing has taught me a lot of patience. Photography has taught me a lot of patience as well. So this is also another thing about surfing and shooting that is it's man's interaction with the environment. And no matter what we do when we interact with the environment, we are adversely affecting it. That's just the nature of being a human and existing in the world. So it's kind of unavoidable, but thinking about it, it makes me want to be more conscientious of what I'm doing. So even with surfboards, they're manufactured from foam and stuff, which is made from what? A oil-based product, you know? So this thing that I do that is giving me so much joy and love and being in the water and bringing me to care about the environment is in fact taking from the environment at the same time. So it's making me think about using more sustainable materials for what I put forward.
And to interject in that, it extends to the actual prints. The Hamiel paper bamboo base is a renewable type of paper. So even in the prints that you're seeing, that concern is extended to.
Yeah, all the color prints are made from bamboo. So it's not woods that get chopped down or whatever. And it's fairly renewable. So also living by the sea, and does anybody here like seafood? We're in Boston. You know, I love seafood, right? And I love eating it. But I've started to think more and more and more as I shoot on the coast and I stay on the coast. Like shrimp don't just magically appear on your plate. They have to come from somewhere, you know? And this is a shot not far from the last shot. And this is a guy, and he's teaching his son how to throw a cast net for shrimp, you know? And that is technology. It's ancient technology, thousands of years old. It's universal. It's used around the world. And I saw him pull a bunch of shrimp out of the water that day. And he was bonding with his son, and he's having sort of a natural interface with the environment, you know? But in the background, you see a more commercial boat, you know? And the impact of the environment on the environment of fishing and stuff is also pretty adverse. Is anyone familiar with the Pacific plastic garbage island? It's like the size of France. It's a giant garbage ocean in the Pacific. And we found out that about 40% of what comprises that is discarded fishing material. So, you know, that's from commercial fishing, these big nets and stuff that come through. So I like the juxtaposition of sort of this guy doing something, teaching this young man the way to get food that's thousands of years old versus a more modern thing, you know. And all the birds that are on the water right there, they're following that boat, you know. And a lot of times they get injured as well. So it's, for me, shooting this kind of stuff is really starts to make me consider more and more and more and more every aspect of my life, where my food comes from, how it's gathered, you know, how I'm getting places, and just what we're teaching our children, you know. I can guarantee you that kid right there, I watched him for a while, he's going to remember that day, you know. He's going to remember that day a long time. I know I did, so happy to get that.
And that connects also to the title, right? You can speak right to a longer view is the future.
Yeah.
The kids and the youth, how are they going to be, what are we leaving for them, and how are they going to be able to continue to defend it and protect it?
I think we're starting with the Industrial Revolution. We've been really short-sighted, really myopic with our effects on the environment. We haven't thought things through, and some of that, I think, of course, is due to just the knowledge we had at the time. When the Industrial Revolution started outside of Birmingham, England, they wound up calling Birmingham the Black Lands, that area around there, because all the smog and stuff coming out. They didn't know that eventually all this pollution was going to start eating the earth, you know, and they didn't know that it was going to give people cancer and all that stuff. They're just like, oh, cool, we can make stuff, you know. Now we're a little bit smarter. We need to look a little bit further in the future. So, on that note, this is another shot from the Cape Fear area. It's a winter day. It was really cold on the beach. And there's a ship off in the distance, and it looks really cool. And it's kind of like Catch-22 with me. You ever been to the coast of North Carolina? It's all barrier islands. They're constantly moving. They're constantly moving south. So in order for them to stay in one spot, people have to constantly replenish the beaches and build these unnatural structures. And it really kind of screws with the ecosystem. The ship out there is dredging. He's dredging a sandbar in order to replenish the beach. So they keep on doing this again and again and again. It's like fighting an endless losing battle to preserve real estate. But that's a catch-22 for me because I live kind of at the beach in some of those places. So it's like, I want to stay here, you know, I enjoy all this stuff, but what exactly are we doing to the environment here? So that's that. And this is from the Standing Rock Indian Reservation in North Dakota. Did anybody hear about the Dakota Access Pipeline protest? So I was on tour with my band, and we were in Mexico City when the tour ended. And throughout that, I've been getting a lot of sort of reports via social media and from Native American friends of mine about what was happening in Standing Rock. And I'm not a drum beating activist, let's go and protest every single thing, you know, because like nobody can be that, and that's just not my nature. But I was getting reports via social media, which is one of the coolest things about social media. You can use it to share unfiltered news. I was getting reports from there that the treatment of these people on this reservation was not humane. And I kept on getting these reports, and I got more and more concerned. So I got off tour at the beginning of November in 2016, and decided to go up to Standing Rock to see for myself. And I went and bought a bunch of supplies that I heard these people needed, and flew to Minnesota and met up with an Ojibwe Indian friend of mine. We rented a car and drove to North Dakota and went to this reservation. And it was one of the heaviest things I've ever experienced in my life. It was absolutely freaking insane. All those people up there are National Guardsmen and private military contractors, and they're protecting this pipeline, which is being built through the Standing Rock Reservation. And the interesting thing about that reservation is that, I mean, anybody who's lived here long enough knows that it's no big secret that we screwed the Native Americans on land and just took their land, and we're like, sorry, you know, that's the way it is. There was a treaty, the Treaty of Fort Laramie, I believe, where they granted the Lakota and the Dakota Sioux Indians, that nation, a certain amount of land. And they're like, okay, this is where you're going to live, and you can have this in perpetuity. And they were like, okay, they signed it, even though they didn't really understand the concept of land ownership, because who can own the land? And steadily over the years, the government has just shrank it and 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 shrank it until it's about an eighth of the size. And I believe in the 1990s, the government finally said, okay, we kind of illegally took your land. You know, we said you're going to have this. We're sorry. We're going to give you however many $1 million to the Sioux Nation, the head council, in order to pay for this stolen land. And the Sioux said, no, we don't want it. We want our land. We want you to honor something that was signed in 1840 or whatever. We want our land. Give it to us. And they were like, no, we got this money. They were like, it's not about money. This is where our land is. This is where our people live. So to this day, they haven't accepted a cent of that, right? They have never conceded that. That money is sat in an escrow account, and it's worth billions of dollars now. And they could take it, but they haven't. So this pipeline is being built illegally through land that they've never ceded. So I went up there and carried a lot of supplies and stuff, and saw some pretty interesting things while I was there. And it's really kind of counterintuitive for me for people not to care about this kind of thing. Because they're thinking, oh, this is way out in a reservation. You're going to put a pipeline in the ground, and if it breaks, it's going to pollute this one river, but it's way out there. They don't understand that everything is connected, you know? If this gets into the water supply there, it's going to get into the water supply everywhere. Eventually, it's going to get into the ocean. It affects everything we do. So, it was cold. That was on Thanksgiving Day, 2016, yeah. And this is a pipeline going through up here, and in the middle of the night, these guys built this crazy inflatable bridge. In the morning, everybody pushed it across and went over there. These guys with fire hoses and guns and stuff. The night before I got there, someone's arm was blown off with a concussion. So it was a real heavy situation. After that, I'm just doing it kind of chronologically.
Just to give you about 10, 15 more minutes on this slide.
Okay, I'll be quick.
Some of you are standing. There's a lot of seats here. If you want to come now, it's the time to grab a seat. I have one up here, two in the front row. There's a few over here. Or you can stand. There's also some benches in the back if you want to sit on the benches.
So after that, it was time to